never eat food on the show? Well, it's because I have celiac disease, a wheat and gluten sensitivity that can lead to everything from infertility to cancer. Here to tell us more about it is the author of The Celiac Disease, A Hidden Epidemic, and my doctor, Peter Green. Welcome, doctor.
G'day, Elizabeth.
Now, Dr. Green's been treating me. He usually doesn't see me dressed. I'm usually in a robe getting some sort of test there.
Which do you prefer?
She looks great.
Thanks, Doc. Why don't talk about celiac disease? Can you explain to everybody, because you'll do an excellent job of that,
Sure.
what it is and what it does to your body?
Yeah, so celiac disease is an autoimmune disease in which people are sensitive to gluten, which is the protein in certain grains. And what it does is cause inflammation in the intestine that causes atrophy of villi. Can I have a look at the...
Yes, the diagram.
Okay,
We have it there.
so here, this is what your normal intestine looks like.
That's my intestine. No.
Well, you're halfway. You're going back in that direction.
Yes, I am.
So normal villi are these long finger-like projections that increase the surface area of your intestine and allow you to absorb all the nutrients. What happens when you get celiac disease? It goes flat. You lose all those villi, and then you withdraw gluten from the diet, and it goes back towards normal.
Right, so I'm probably in the process of healing that. And when you have celiac disease, this can actually, if untreated, can lead to things like intestinal cancer, infertility, I've heard miscarriage, depression.
That's
True?
right. The manifestations of it are very great, and remaining untreated leads to all those complications.
Yeah, it's scary if you don't know that you have it.
Elizabeth says she's, now I don't know if I have it. I know I'm gluten intolerant, but Elizabeth says she's healing that. Does that mean she will heal it and be better, or is this for the rest of her life she has to be gluten-free?
You have to be gluten-free your entire life. It's a lifelong diagnosis. If you get diagnosed in childhood or as an adult, it's for the rest of your life.
Right, it is.
Because as soon as you start getting gluten, you go back in that direction,
Yes.
flattening the villi.
Yeah, and I felt that a few times. Do we know the cause of this specifically, Doc?
We don't know precisely, but we know a lot. We know it's an interaction of your genes, gluten, and environmental factors. None of us digest gluten very well. We didn't evolve to eat wheat, actually.
Right.
And there are these toxic fragments that get into the bowel wall, probably during infections. And if your genetic makeup is such, you get this villus atrophy.
That's I think what happened to me. It's in my genes. I went away. I was out of the country. I had a bacterial intestinal infection. Haven't been the same since. What about my daughter Grace, who's 2? Do I have her tested?
Well, you probably should do the gene test on her, because if she doesn't have the genes, you don't have to worry about it.
What is the gene test? My mother has celiac, so that's why.
If there's celiac disease in your family, each individual has about a 10% chance of having it. Some families have a lot and other families have none. But we know now we can do a gene test on the people who are family members and see if people are at risk. If you have the gene, it just means you're at risk. But if you don't have it, it can exclude it.
And that's testing for an antibody?
No, that's the gene test.
The gene test.
That just says if you're susceptible. The antibody tests, if you're eating gluten...
Say your body's reacting to something, right?
Yeah, that shows that you have it at the time.
Yeah.
Because you can get it any time in your life.
What about symptoms? What symptoms are people probably having and not realizing they have celiac?
Well, the symptoms are very diverse, and that's one of the reasons that doctors don't make the diagnosis very often.
Right.
They're very common. They can vary from symptoms that get labeled as irritable bowel syndrome, gas, bloating, diarrhea, fatigue.
It's very attractive when you have it. I might have.
It's fun to explain to people.
Well, you'd probably be attractive whatever you had.
Dr. Green.
So great.
So it's very diverse.
Yes.
Depression, neurological problems.
Skin problems.
Yes.
There's a very itchy rash that you eat gluten and you want to scratch this damn rash.
Yes.
What is that called?
Dermatitis herpetiformis.
Right.
DH.
Yes. And I mean, I think the problem too is that because there's no medical company behind it, you know, a lot of the times doctors want to try to help you feel better, so they give you a medication that treats IBS.
That's right.
It also has to do with awareness, though, Elizabeth, because there's no drug to cure it.
Yes.
The drug companies are not behind it, like raising awareness of this disease, because they can't make any money off it.
That's right.
If you are having symptoms, we have Alice Bass, the executive director of the National Foundation for Celiac Awareness here. Alice, if someone's having symptoms, where should they go?
They should go to celiaccentral.org, print out the symptom checklist, and demand that their doctor test them for celiac disease. Because there's almost 3 million people suffering needlessly.
And undiagnosed so far.
Undiagnosed. And a change in diet can change their life.
That's right. Well, speaking of, we actually have some examples here of the food that we should be avoiding and food that we can have. Dr. Green, there are some foods that people don't realize. Obviously, it's the wheat, barley, and rye that we shouldn't be having, right?
That's right.
And then, but I didn't realize it. I found out the hard way. It's in soy sauce. It's in barbecue sauce. It's in flavored coffee. No more vanilla lattes. Licorice. I thought I was allergic to the movies.
You can get gluten-free licorice. That's right. Well, if you have celiac disease, you've got to realize that they're out to trick you.
Yes.
Because they put that wheat flour in just about anything.
They do, and it's not what's obvious.
Cornbread.
Cornbread sounds innocent. It's
bread
not.
mold, right?
That's
Yes,
right.
yes. And Rice Krispies, they sound safe, but you got to find a gluten-free brand. But so they're
because
great
they have
options.
malt from barley.
Yes, they have malt from barley. I found that out
As
the hard
does
way
beer.
also. As a beer. But there's
Not that beer.
there's so many foods that people can have, which is great, starting with breads. You feel like you're going to never have bread again. They have great options. You pop them in the microwave. They almost taste like the real thing. Waffles, everything from your comfort foods, a pizza, Think Thin bars I always go to for protein. What are those, the cookies? Pamela's cookies are in the box. They're incredible because I don't want to cook. They have Pirate's Booty and all the food here. They have excellent
Restaurants
sources.
are very difficult, though.
Restaurants
Elizabeth
are
and I were
difficult.
discussing this before. Nobody believes you. They think you're lying.
Yeah.
When you go to a restaurant, they're like, well, it just has a dusting of flour. You can't even have the littlest
It's not
bit.
like that in the rest of the world. America, the United States, is very far behind many countries in Europe, Australia,
Really?
where I come from. Gluten-free foods are widely
You're
available.
Australian? I thought you were from Brooklyn.
No, he's from...
I'm shocked to hear that.
These are supposed to taste like
Didn't
a
you
Kit
even
Kat.
say g'day?
No, these are actually made and they're supposed to taste like Kit Kat, so I need to give you the test, Susie, because you're on
Who
it.
makes those ones?
These are actually glutino. They're sugar-free wafers that are chocolate covered, and I love
What
them.
about
So
the brownies?
the brownies are outstanding. Actually, once you find out you have celiac disease, you're probably going to get really fat because they have such incredible food.
Well,
so I think it's...
That is something that people have to watch. Sometimes, because people are then absorbing their food that they never absorb. And if
Yes.
you eat the same amount of food, you can gain weight, your cholesterol can go up. So,
Yes.
it is actually a healthy diet.
It's a healthy diet, and it's also great if you have an incredible doctor to help you along the way. You've been wonderful, Dr. Green. Thank you so much. If you guys want more information about celiac disease or any of these products, check out our website. We will be right back.